I do want to welcome you guys here, and let me tell you the impetus of why I'm giving these intimate classes. In March, I started writing a book. So I've been in practice for 20 years, plus or minus, and I was working my tail off, seeing lots and lots of people every day, and I realized that my health started faltering, and I wanted to touch many more people than what I was doing. And so in March, I took a sabbatical and started writing a book. I started writing a book according to the testimonies of the incurables, in quotation marks, that started coming to the clinic and were healed. And these were people that were bedridden for 9 years, 3 years, 7 years, young 16-year-olds that had to drop out of school because they were sick, that after a year with me, they resumed their life. So there were quite a few wonderful testimonies that I believe that this information should be screamed from the rooftops. I don't think that health is something that one person gets and other people do not get. I believe it's our inheritance as being human beings that we should have the ability to walk healed in this lifetime. And if we're not walking healed with vitality, strength, peace, joy, okay, if we're not, then there's something that's wrong, and it can be something very simple, very simple. And so this is the reason for my I've had many people tell me, you got to cut down the title. My title beginning was Aggressive Preventative Health First Line Therapy. Because for me, when I have been in practice, I've been the only people that come to natural medicine are the people that have already been through the Western medicine and that didn't have the answers for them. So I had the people on their deathbeds. And so I had to actually breathe resurrection life into these people. And I had to also let them know that I'm coming from a different physiological point of, this is your right. You have a right to be healed. And so if you're here, I know for a fact that the body has an innate ability to heal itself. We have to remove the obstacles to cure. That's my perspective. And so that's how, in the last 20 years, that's how I've been able to help the people that have not had the help. They didn't have the answers for them at that time. So when I say, when it comes to your health, ignorance is not bliss, just to move into, I was ignorant when I started having kids. I was ignorant. And my firstborn was in and out of the doctor's office every 2 weeks, and we were not getting better. And my husband actually told me, you need to figure out what to do here. You need to figure out. So I actually quit my corporate job and started studying and applying the things that 20 years ago, they were whacked out. Okay, what do you mean you don't eat dairy? What do you mean you don't eat this? What do you mean? 20 years ago, like Lisa could vouch for it. People think that we are aliens. And we got a lot of persecution because of it. My kids didn't even know what ice cream was. They didn't know what dairy was. But that's because we had hereditary tendencies. On my side, hereditary tendencies of cancer. My mother died of cancer. My grandmother died of cancer. So lots of hereditary diseases. On my husband's side, we had like syphilitic diseases with blindness. We had our hands were already tied with hereditary trends towards disease. So if we didn't figure out a different way, my kids were going to be really sick. And I can tell you right now that I was totally ignorant. And after a couple years of researching, I was not ignorant anymore. Okay, so my mission too, and I've kind of gone into it without being super specific, but my mission is to have you guys be the revolution. I will be the shouter, the spokesperson, and then you guys, armed with information, you also will be the spokesperson. When you see someone sick, you'll be able to say, hey, you don't need to be sick. You see someone that has the beginning of Parkinson's at age 30 and 40, you can say, hey, you know what, that's your dopamine pathway. We can do this, this, and this. You're probably poisoning yourself, and you will be able to lead them down a path of proper nutrition at this basic, most fundamental level of 6 weeks. I know that's very lofty, but I am telling you, I've already given these classes and I'm already seeing it happen. So when I say start a revolution, you guys are the revolution with just a little bit of knowledge that has been applied. Then you become the rolling stone of a revolution. So who am I? This is who I am in a nutshell. But really, who I am is I was a mom that had sick kids, and I started figuring out some answers. And I was a mom that also got really sick. So when my kids were young, they were really young, I was diagnosed with deadly diseases, and I started actually studying in earnest at this point. Now I'm starting to become credentialed. So I started becoming a classical homeopath first because I had seen it actually saved my third son's life. I was miscarrying, I was hemorrhaging, and I saw a classical homeopath. She gave me one remedy, chamomile tea. How many of you guys actually drink chamomile tea, or at least know what it is? Okay, it was chamomile in potency, and it stopped me from hemorrhaging, stopped my hysteria, and my third son was born. So I started studying classical homeopathy, then went on to study, became an ND, then an herbalist, nutritionist. So I have studied literally for 20 years. I keep adding credentials. In the last 2 years, I had another issue with extreme sports with one of my sons. So I started studying neurology. So functional medicine neurology. So he was sleeping into a coma 2 years ago, and now he is looking for a job. So quite a bit of personal. This is very, very personal to me, that with armed with some really good information, and then the information actually becoming revelation that will transform your lives. Walt, you said, Lisa's been talking to me for 2 decades, and I'm listening. I listen, but now might be the time that I'm here to listen in, with putting a little bit of action behind it. So the impetus is when you have loved ones, or when you're losing an appendage, or losing a foot, or something that shows us that we have to actually do something here, because we're not getting any better. So that's what I just welcome all of you. Hopefully that we're not in any dire situations, okay? But that this information will still reverse any form of imbalance or dis-ease in your systems. So there's 2 models of disease, or there's 2 models of disease too, but we're going to talk about the medicine, where there's allopathic medicine and then there's natural medicine. 20 years ago, natural medicine was, like I said, they thought I was from outer space. And I did too, when I was thinking, man, we don't get cheese. We're not eating cheese. We're not eating ice cream. Okay, because I grew up on that stuff. But there's allopathic medicine, which is our prevailing model, and then there's naturopathic medicine. Naturopathic medicine has definitely accelerated in popularity, but I'm going to teach to you where we go wrong. Because natural medicine is like actually I got a call today, and they said, so I just read an article, I don't know exactly where it was, but like in a Better Homes and Gardens, and they're saying to use maca herb for my greens. What do you think about that? And I said, well, maca is for hormones. And I said, but you know what? Because it has such phytoestrogens, it has such an impact on the hormones. No, I would not be using that in your daily greens. The natural medicine, People say chamomile is good for anxiety or sleeplessness. So they're just pulling something out of the air and using it. We're going to be talking deeper about more of mechanisms of disease so that you're going to just understand in a healthy way that when we use herbs, when we use vitamins, when we use something, there's always going to be a response on the body. If we eat well, there's going to be a nice response. If we eat poorly, there's going to be a negative reaction. The body is genius. It's going to respond to whatever we use, whether we're using maca in our greens, which no maca in our greens, okay? And I will go deeper into that of what I'm trying to say. So I'm an ND, so I'm a doctor of natural medicine. The political climate is getting better towards doctors of natural medicine. However, I have been required to actually go back and take separate boards because they switched our credentials from the political arena. I graduated with a doctor of naturopathy, and then I think it was maybe 5 years ago, they were eliminating doctors of naturopathy, even if we graduated that way. And I had to go back and get board certified as a doctor of natural medicine. So there is still a climate of misunderstanding. And this is another reason why I'd like to get the word out of first-line therapy and how natural medicine isn't like, oh, I read this article and I'm going to start taking this and it's going to help me with my stress. Okay, so we live in the Western world and allopathic medicine is our go-to. Allopathic medicine is saving our lives. Many people misconstrue, they just apply labels to me saying, well, and people will say it to me, I hate doctors, and I'm like, doctors have saved my son's life. Doctors, they intervene and they save your life. If you need them, they are there. We have hospitals, urgent cares on every corner, and they save our lives. So we love them. Really, what we want to be doing is building the bridges between allopathic and complementary medicine, because I don't have allopathic knowledge. I wanted to go to medical school. I couldn't do it all. I've still been going to school for 20 years, and allopathic has been meeting my needs and the needs of my patients. But I'm Black. I have a void where allopathic medicine, they are number one in saving lives. So when I'm bringing out this bad news of the health epidemic here, and this is what I'm going to do in the next 5 minutes, and I'm going to go really fast, okay? But when I'm bringing this up, it's not because I am negative against the allopathic system or Western medicine. I really want to go on record that I'm not. I love them, and I wish more and more I am working with allopathic doctors that they're healers. They're healers in their heart. And if all of us are healers, then we can definitely find complementary foundation, right? So I'm going to go very fast. All of the sources are here on this PowerPoint for talking about a health epidemic in which we find ourselves in right now. And right now, our world, our system, we are ready for answers that natural medicine has. So, health epidemic. I'll go, once I get my rhythm, okay, I'll start going really fast, okay, but asthma, dementia, diabetes, hypertension, they are up 40% increase in asthma, 55% increase in dementia, 60% increase in high blood pressure, 70% increase in diabetes. And that's from what, 1950? What was that?
10 years, 2003.
Okay, so that's not good. Something has to give. Diabetes is up 70% in 10 years. Diabetes is, we're calling Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes. Diabetes, insulin resistance, reactive hypoglycemia, It is a mechanism, and I'll describe what I'm meaning by mechanism of disease on so many physiological functions. So if we are spiking with our blood sugar, if we're insulin resistant, if we're plummeting down, then we're not manufacturing our neurotransmitters. Then we have issues in so many of our physiological cycles. Data from 2015 shows that thyroid cancer is increasing by more than 300% in 37 years. Kidney and pelvic cancer is up 300%. Breast cancer is increased 50% in 32 years. Melanoma has increased 300% in 35 years. Childhood obesity is up 300%. Autism rates are up 600%. These all have their sources so that you guys can delve into it and see the sources where I'm not making up anything. Autism is a problem. Okay, I'm going to go really fast because I want to get to some good news and I want to get to the meat of why you're here. So, diseases are definitely spinning out of control. Americans, we think we're pretty good until we go abroad. When I lived in Spain, I thought I was really good. I actually had my first bachelor's. I went to Spain and hung out with people that hadn't had their bachelor's yet. This is a rabbit trail. And I felt like I was the most uneducated person around. So where does the United States rank in life expectancy? Well, we rank 36th, just under Croatia and Cuba. We spend the most money on our health or our medical treatment. Okay, as I said, Western medicine, allopathic medicine, is amazing in saving our lives. If someone is starting an autoimmune disease and their thyroid is being attacked by antigens that the body has manufactured, we want drugs. Give me drugs so that my body can actually function until I start looking for the mechanism of disease and what we have to do to interrupt that incorrect behavior or the obstacle to cure for the body. Our diet is the leading factor of disease, our American diet. So, what's wrong with our model? The number one risk factor for death and disability is our diet. This is according to medical journals. This isn't naturopathic. This is all medical journals. The average United States medical school, they learn about 5 hours of nutrition. This is changing. Specifically, this is changing. However, the practitioners that I work with, they will always say that most of their schooling was done on drugs and interactions. And this is like surgeons, some of just my colleagues that we bat things around. And they'll always tell me, I didn't learn anything of nutrition. I didn't learn the principles of cure. And these are the things that I'm going to teach you, because you're going to be able to have your own report card of, am I actually getting well, or am I stirring up a disease process in my body? What's wrong with our model? We put a lot of money into pharmaceuticals. Nearly 7 in 10 Americans are on prescription drugs. 80% of the world's use of opioids are here in the United States. We spend buku bucks on prescription drugs. One in 6 adults have mental illness. And I'm going to explain to you a hypothesis of why that is on my perspective. Antidepressants, we use them. We're number one in using antidepressants. I think it's so many factors. Some of them is of which we are the wealthiest. We are wealthy. So if we're uncomfortable, we don't like to be uncomfortable, so give me an antidepressant. Okay. We have the highest drug death rate in the world. So that's a negative, okay? Sorry to be negative Nancy, but I'm going to talk about some really positive things as well, okay? So a hypothesis that I see, what's going on, why are we the lead in pharmaceutical drugs in America? Number one, we're wealthy, okay? We're wealthy. If we're uncomfortable, we know how to get out of our uncomfortableness. When we have disease, say we have, let's say our 6-year-old has lung disease. They have just asthma, okay? Which, quote, many of our youth have asthma, okay? It's a big issue. If you go to school, I would say quite a large percentage of the kids have inhalers that the nurse holds for them for the emergencies. When a child has asthma and they've been on an inhaler for anywhere, it depends on the strength of their immune system, from anywhere from 3 months to 3 years. That asthma, if their immune system is weak, that asthma is actually going to push down and move into the joints because of the steroid. Steroid is a suppressor. Okay, it's going to open you up. But disease progression is such that a baby, if they present with eczema, how many of you guys have had eczema when you were young? Okay, so this is very unusual. Usually it's 90% of the room. Of the people will say, I had eczema right here, back and knees. Okay, so these people that have had eczema, if the mom and dad, being good moms and dads, bring the kid to the doctor gives some steroids, some any kind of steroids, and that kid's immune system is not strong. And you know, if you're bringing a kid to the doctor at age 1 with eczema, the body is trying to do something, okay, and we put on some cortisone on that, and the eczema disappears. And the eczema does not come back. You can mark your book by it that kid, within 3 to 5 years, that kid will have asthma. Because there is a very specific progression of disease. Skin affectations suppressed with our pharmaceutical drugs will go to the lungs. Suppressed lungs will actually go to the joints. Suppressed joints, suppressed with strong drugs, strong medicines, with an immune system that is compromised. Then the joints will go to the heart will go to the brain. The brain is also mentals and emotionals in the center. So you know when I said that we are the highest nation in the world for antidepressants, it's because we also don't like to see our kids suffering. We have the money, we're wealthy enough that we go to the doctors. We do not let the body work its way out of the morbid substance of why it is sick. What is the body working out in eczema? It's working out the trash from the mom. Okay, it's not fully developed in its little organ systems. So it's the skin. We say that the skin is the second liver and the third kidney. It's the largest excretory organ. So a kid that needs to work through their mom's issues, it's going to come out through their skin. So this is not only a suppression of disease, but we're going to talk later about how when you're healing, when you find yourself with certain symptoms, when you heal, you're going to go in reverse order. So when you are really finally healing, and you have had skin affectations in your history, you will get skin issues. So I will go deeper so that there would be a greater understanding on this. This is just an overview so far. But I do have in my mind, I have, why are our children at age 14, 15, and 16, why are they on antidepressants? Well, maybe this will be in my next book. Okay, why are they on them? Because they have been drugged every progression of disease. They have needed help. They've had asthma. Sometimes it skips a layer, and all of a sudden, when I say a layer, like a concentric circle, maybe a kid that had asthma, the body compensates, and then stops compensating and crashes. At that point in time, that kid that just had asthma but used the inhaler rarely, okay, if that immune system cannot keep up with that, then that child could skip a line, skip a concentric circle, and actually start having anxiety. They can start having heart palpitations. Okay, so this is not rigid when we're looking at the full picture, but this is, you guys get this. And you will already have the key to healing the body, because this is what stops people when they're doing alternative medicine. Is you have symptoms when you are reversing out of dis-ease or imbalance in your system. You will have detoxification symptoms, and you will have correcting symptoms. So we take a lot of drugs. Is there an option? We're going to talk, this 6-week course is about the options of taking drugs. There are times where you have to take a drug, and you don't just get off of drugs when you start going to the natural way. You go back to your doctor and you start working with weaning it down as the body becomes healthier. So we are going to treat causes. We're not even going to treat, that's an illegal word. We're going to address causes, not symptoms. We're going to talk about the mechanism of disease. What is the morbid substance that is causing this body to respond this way? We're going to talk in this class, we're going to talk about food that we eat, food that we shouldn't be eating, foods to avoid, foods that are literal poisons that that 90% of the population eats. We're going to talk a little bit about emotions. Our emotions actually have, in a physiological process, our emotions can either shut down healing capabilities in the body if they're negative, or it can actually promote healing mechanisms in the body. And this is out of the physiology of our immune system. We're going to talk about prevention, okay? We're going to talk about principles of cure and first-line therapy. I call this first-line therapy because what I'm seeing, if I can address the first 5 markers of your blood tests, and we can get those in alignment, and say you have thyroid issues, and we in this class are not even addressing the thyroid issues. If you get all of these other markers in line, 75% of you will not need to go to the doctor. The thyroid, the hormones, all of the following hierarchy, they will get into place. Over time, it's not going to be in 2 weeks, but over time, the body will be able to heal itself. Prevention. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. The leading cause of death in the United States. Who can take a gander at what the leading cause of death is in the United States?
Doctors.
Oh, okay. Okay, what? Cancer. Cancer's up there. Any other guesses? Heart disease. Good, good. Ding, 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 heart disease. Okay, heart disease. It's a leading cause of cancer. 1 in 4 people will die from heart disease. 80% of heart disease is completely preventable. This is according to Mayo Clinic. The second leading cause of death in the United States, who said that? Cancer? Cancer, and you said cancer. Ding, 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 cancer. It is the most feared disease in America, and right, it should be, because it is torture. It is torture. The most, and where is this one from? Pharmaceutical research, but if you see, these are all allopathic, okay? They're all journals from allopathic medicine. Cancer is 95% preventable. Cancer, you guys, in the United States, it is legislated in the 1940s. Cancer is illegal to treat in the United States with anything other than surgery, chemo, or radiation. It is illegal. It is in our Constitution. It's crazy, right? Okay, that's the reason why most of the clinics go to Mexico, go to Spain, go to other places. Cancer is a terrain issue. Cancer is it's an emotional terrain, as well as it is biofilms, negative viruses hooked with bacterias that have overtaken and have made the body where the oxygen has shut down and toxins have basically just run amok in the system. I have seen multiple cancer patients go into spontaneous remission. That is what we call it, but I'm telling you, spontaneous. Wonderful. Okay, stage 4s. Where the doctors can't do anything anymore for them because it's not working. Because the body is designed to heal itself. This is an angle that is very unique. And when we can look at it that way, knowing the foundation that the body has been designed to heal itself, so much easier to fight the progression of disease. Okay, what is the third leading cause of death in the United States? So you said medical errors. So doctors' medical errors. Drugs. What I've seen is it's because we're such a fast-paced society. I've seen just people come in with 30 drugs, and I have to decipher what is the human body and what is the drug reaction. So a lot of it is because of errors and drugs. The third leading cause of death is chronic lower respiratory disease, bronchitis, emphysema, chronic, if you can't breathe, you can't live, right? Fourth leading cause of death are accidents, unintentional. We can't do much about that, but I could teach you a little bit of trauma about how to actually stop the hemorrhaging, stop the shock. And you guys, I'm an open book. Whatever you say, I have questions. If I have even an inkling of what I do for something, I'll share it abroad. So, yeah. Fifth leading cause of death in the United States are strokes. Okay, and one of these medical models, it says 80% of all strokes are preventable. Alzheimer's is the sixth leading cause of death. Okay, Alzheimer's, what did we see? That it was up 600%? Okay, Alzheimer's is up because diabetes is up. If we have glucose issues, having too high of glucose, you guys, I exaggerate things so that I can punch things home to when I explain things. When we have high glucose, it's not just in our body, but it's in our brain. So it's lighting our brain on fire. When our brain is on fire for a long period of time, it actually eats holes in the brain. Okay, when you look at an Alzheimer's, so I just started neurology 2 years ago. We looked at cadavers of skulls, and oh my goodness, holes like an animal had eaten into the skull, and it was from diabetes that led to Alzheimer's because it was a long-term diabetes that was never controlled. I have seen spontaneous remissions in this clinic for diabetes, crazy numbers that have, where I would even be kind of quaking, going, shoot, I don't know. I've never seen numbers this high, you know, but it's, you remove the obstacle to cure because the body is always right. Why is the body doing this? That's the angle. Okay, it says 80% of heart disease is preventable. 90% of cancer is preventable. Those are the wrong initials. The lung affectations are preventable. 80% of strokes are preventable. 75% of Alzheimer's is preventable. So we spend most of our money on prevention, right? No, but that's what we're doing here. We're going to assess where you find yourself with your symptoms. What is your body doing? We're going to interrupt what your body is doing and start reversing it. And that is prevention. You don't have to be a statistic of cancer, of Alzheimer's, of diabetes, of all of it. We don't have to be a statistic. So our current medical model is not keeping us healthy. It's saving our lives. But can we marry these? So you guys that come here and, you know, and I'm giving you keys that I've learned over the 20 years that I've seen save people's lives. If you have any incident that is life-threatening, you can't breathe, then you get yourself to urgent care. You can't, your glucose is off the charts, and you are numb and losing feeling in your fingers or in your feet. Go to urgent care. Go to your doctor. But then take it to the next level of what do we do for this? What do we do for this? Okay, you have to interrupt it, and drugs is amazing way to interrupt it. But then take it to the next level of, why is my body doing this? And then what do we do for that? So learning about a different medical model, this is going to be the meat of tonight. I'm going to give you an overview of natural medicine, and I'm also going to give you just a lot of tips. If I don't see you again, I have still spread really good seeds to go in and plant, and then actually you will get it. You will get it from what I'm going to share with you tonight. So a different medical model. We look at disease is in many steps, because people come in with certain symptoms, and we can see actually a natural progression of symptoms, and we liken it to an onion. So innervation starts first, and that is a slowing down of your excretory organs. You're slowing down. Many people don't have multiple stools in a day. That is what we should have. We should have a stool after we eat, after we eat a meal. We need to have a stool. Okay. In the medical books, when I was in school this last year, we saw a medical book where in the medical book it's now saying having a stool is normal once in 3 days. This is very normal that people do not have stools. And if you are innervated, your excretory organs are not moving, you think you're going to be toxic pretty quickly? Pretty quickly. So that's innervation. The beginning of innervation, even for our little ones, are emotions, stress, anger, sadness, that works on the nerves and slows down the excretory organs. Secondly is inflammation. Inflammation is, I'll go through these as an overview, and then I think I've got slides on them. So we've got innervation, inflammation, ulceration, induration, and then we have the ultimate cancer. So I already said the beginning of disease is innervation. I already covered that pretty well. Innervation is also exacerbated by eating neurotoxins. Any of you guys just can, right off the top of your head, think of a food that we eat that is a neurotoxin?
Sugar.
Sugar? Corn syrup? Excellent. 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 Gluten. Dairy. Excellent. You guys are good. I'm going to have to stay one step ahead of you. Okay, a neurotoxin is a poison that acts on the nervous system. Okay, then we have irritation. Irritation is like a chronic pebble in your shoe. And irritation would be, give you an example, every single one of us, whether we have symptoms or not, our body responds or reacts to gluten. Gluten is found in everything that we eat, and I'll have a week of, we're going to go into very deep of gluten and the cross-reactants and why, the why of it. But this right here, if we say we have morning, noon, and night, we have some oatmeal, we have, for some reason, I'm not thinking quickly, a piece of toast, and we're doing this 3 times a day. This is a pebble in our shoe where our body has to respond to it. It is acting like a toxin, and so we are going to have irritation at a site. Usually the irritation would be at our stomach. Many of us don't realize that what goes on in our stomach is going on in our brain. There is a gut-brain axis that you'll be an expert at after week 4, because I'm going to talk a lot about autoimmunity and go into that. But so if we have a constant influx of foods that our body does not recognize the molecular structure, we are actually causing an irritation, and that irritation over time is going to be an inflammation that doesn't go down. So we're going to be able to see this in the blood. I don't know if I asked you guys to do a homocysteine, but we'll be able to see it by your symptoms for sure. Where you are. Are you at irritation or are you at inflammation? Are you at ulceration? So prolonged irritation, it turns into a chronic inflammation. Chronic inflammation turns into ulceration. Now you've got a breakdown of tissues that are, say that you're riding your bike and you wiped out and you have blood oozing from your knee. We have this in our gastrointestinal tract at this point, or wherever the ulceration is, whether we have ulcers in our stomach, from worry, from what the world says is an acid, overrun of acid. So ulceration now, we've got an open wound, so we got to deal with that. Then, after the open wound, ulceration, now the body, it can't heal the ulceration, so now it's going to start walling it off, because the body always knows what it's doing. It's going to harden the tissue, then that tissue is going to be a defense mechanism of walled off. When I see tumors, when people come here, and very rarely do I get to see outward tumors. People will come usually with their PET scan, and I can see the size of their tumors, and it doesn't quake me in my boots so much. But I actually had a gentleman that came with a tumor at least 5 inches wide, and it was at least 13 to 15 inches long, and scared the dickens out of me. Okay, but because I understand the body is amazing, and this tumor, it showed up in like 1 week, and he got diagnosed with stage 4 adenocarcinoma. And he flew here from another state, and I looked at it. I was terrified, because I like just seeing him on reports, okay, and talking to him, and he's like, what do you think you can do about this? And I'm like, I don't know, but I know that your body walled this off. I know that your body just isolated a bunch of toxins, and I know that if we apply the obstacle to cure, okay, and start removing all of these obstacles, let's see what we can do. In 2 weeks, that tumor was down to my fingernail, okay? Only one other doctor, I've never seen it in literature, but one other doctor that I actually studied under, we were talking about what we think of tumors. And I said, I think it's a defense mechanism of the body. I think the body is so brilliant that a tumor is actually the body walling off toxins, quite possibly viruses, bacteria, fungus, and parasites, and or heavy metal toxicities. For this specific gentleman, he worked at a refinery for like 10 years, and this all was like shrapnel from heavy metals. But that is induration, tumors, fibroids. Fibroids, they're fed hormonally, but there's if we look at things with a different angle, we can see that it's not as terrifying. It is a progression of disease. It's what the body should be doing when it's working well. So induration is it is the last step to cancer. Even this horrible scene, you reverse it. You reverse it by working on the inside of the body. You start cleaning the inside of the body. These rogue cells, they start coming in a line because they don't have the food to live off of anymore. And the immune system gets stronger and stronger and stronger, and you start reversing disease. And this is where the principle of cure comes in. In natural medicine, we have report cards, and we say, okay, we have principle of cure. And it's also could be Herring's law of cure. It's any famous doctor who was amazing, we name it off after them. So depending on what modality you are being healed under, they'll have this in natural medicine. You are going to heal from the most inner core of your body to the outside. You're going to heal from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. You're going to heal from the most important organ system to the least important organ system in reverse order of cure. So if you had migraines when you were in your 30s, before your hormones changed, and you're starting to go on a protocol of healing, you're assessing where you are currently at, then you start doing things towards health, you are going to get migraines back. They're going to be shorter in duration. They're going to be less intense. They're not going to just, they will be shorter in duration and less intense, depending upon how bad it is. Okay, and it will be fewer and fewer and fewer. And this is how I tell everyone that comes to me. I say, how is your vitality? If your inner core, your vitality is getting stronger, then that is, you're going in the right direction. You're following the principles of cure. Even though you feel like crud. I've got symptoms all over the place. I have old eczema back. I have dull headaches. But man, it's the weirdest thing. I feel really good. Do you know how many times a day I hear that? They're like, how can this be? But I teach them this, and I'm like, okay, what's your grade report card here? Okay, what's your vitality? What's your strength? What's your optimism? What's your sense of well-being? All of that is your inner core. Wow, the weirdest thing is since I started doing this, I'm not nearly as anxious. But I did get heart palpitations, and they scared me, you know. I go, did you have heart palpitations ever before in your life? And they're like, oh my goodness, yes, I did. There was a period in my life where I had heart palpitations, but I haven't had them in 10 years. Well, congratulations, you are reversing out of a pathology. You are healing. Okay, is this new to any of you? Yeah, is this not new to, who is this not new to? Yeah, okay, good. Okay, you guys, this is the core of natural medicine. Okay, if you start a program, say you are starting a weight loss program, and you're trying to eat for blood glucose, you're spiking low and you're spiking high. And on this 6 weeks, you go, you know what? That is the thing that is an obstacle to cure for my body. So this is what I have to work on. So that is going to be for you. This is what you're going to work on. And then you start doing the protocol and you start getting shaky. You start getting weird symptoms that you haven't had in forever. People will stop. They will stop immediately and they'll say, I'm getting worse. I'm getting worse. And that's because they don't understand the principles of cure. If someone has had eczema and all of a sudden they're starting to detox their liver, and the overflow of the liver is the skin and the kidneys, okay? And we start getting bad symptoms and it's like, I'm a wreck, okay? Number one, you don't have to live through that. You come to class and tell me, and I will tell you, you don't have to be tormented through your healing. Let's strengthen your body and open up all 6 elimination channels, and now we'll get things moving, okay? But this is what frightens people with natural medicine. They're going, man, I don't feel very good. I've got these old symptoms back. I've got diarrhea. Oh my goodness, I'm purging a bunch of stuff. This is, welcome to healing. It is, your body is going to detox first, okay? And if we do it right, we're going to build you up so that the detoxification doesn't flatten you. And when you reverse out, say you've had a chronic history of sickness, and when you start reversing out and you go through the concentric circles, if we support you, it does not have to be bad. There is a method to the madness, okay? And it is very scientific, very specific. And you guys, I was diagnosed with really bad diseases, and I was really sick. And when I was reversing out of the pathologies without knowing this, I was a wreck. And so I think it has made me a better practitioner, saying, you know what? Let's support your body while you're reversing out so that you don't have to be sick. It doesn't have to scare you. But you will feel mentally and emotionally better. You will start feeling more peace. You will, if you've had heart palpitations and anxiety or panic attacks, you might have little ones, but they'll be blips. They'll be blips. If you've had strep infections, or urinary tract infections, you will get blips of strep infections and urinary tract infections. But if you do what I'm asking you to do, you're already going to have the infrastructure in place that when you reverse out, it's going to be gentler for you. So, a medical disclaimer. Nothing I say or teach is designed to cure disease. It is for educational purposes only. And now we're going to get into the class goals. So what is first line therapy? We're going to address your specific issues on the cellular level by blood tests. We're going to be looking at red blood cells. We're going to be looking at iron, the white blood cells, the glucose. If those get in alignment, as I said prior, and this is actually in one of my sources, if this as well as, I feel like something's missing on that. Your lipid panel, your liver enzymes, your kidney function, all of those we're going to be looking at in this 6-week class. And when we get all of those markers aligned, within 3 months, I have seen in my prior classes, I have seen them align. Okay, in 3 months. It's remarkable, but the statistic here is 75% of you, depending upon where you present right now with any sickness, 75% of your body will just continue healing. And I will give you the keys of how to take step 3, step 4, step 5 of what we know is on the horizon. We're going to look at blood tests as objective data. We're going to look at bioimpedance analysis. It's a fancy machine. Back when I first got my doctorate, I used to do corporate wellness for Colorado Department of Transportation. I call it my residency because we didn't have residencies in natural medicine. I had 1,000 patients that I would see every 6 weeks. And it was the fastest way for me getting trained up. And I used this machine that gives me 17 different markers of what's going on in your body. For this class, I will probably look at 4 markers. And you will have a before and an after of improvement. We will look at the glucose test. You know, we've had a few classes now, and the glucose test, it's optional. You can do it, but if you've got glucose issues, I'm going to recommend on probably week 3 that you actually buy a glucose monitor and log your issues for a week. And I've seen tremendous results from the implementation of reversing out blood sugar issues just in this 6-week program. We're going to be taking a look at your pulse and your oxygen. And I think we even do blood pressure. We're going to do simple neurological testing. This is, you know, when I told you that we did cadavers, they brought in the, actually the skulls in white 5-gallon buckets. And this is a picture of, from one of my classes. So Alzheimer's looks like a wild animal ate it up. Then being overweight and having sleep apnea, you're actually not getting enough oxygen to your brain. So a lot of parts of your brain are going to start kind of shutting down. Remember when we saw inflammation, induration? Okay, that happens to the brain. For some reason, we think that the brain is always separate. Oh, well, this is happening to my body. Well, if it's happening to your body, it's happening to your brain. Class goals. We're going to talk about holistic comprehension between how it's interconnected mentally and emotionally and physically. We're going to talk about specifically on your metabolic forms, and I'll explain this at the end of the class. We're going to address specific organ systems of what is your number one priority. This is the way we're able to do it in a big picture, and then we just go after your one priority, plus your cellular markers in your blood. If we can do that, I can catapult you into wellness. Oh, I don't think I mentioned, but those of you who give me permission, you become statistics to my book. I need 100 people to come through the classes and do the program. And so we're well on our way, but that is another reason why I'm giving these classes, and you're going to be a testimony in my book. I've already have autoimmune testimonies of one woman losing her eye, and having migraines and really weird pains. I already have quite a few testimonies, and you guys, it's in 3 months. 3 months. So it's a 6-week course, and then we let you fly on your own for a while on a program, and then you come back and we reassess everything. It's very exciting. I jump for joy. Okay, I cannot tell you how many times I would say to the people, there was one woman who, you'll learn this, you're going to really get this, but one woman had iron saturation of an 8. So she wasn't oxygenating her body at all. Okay, and there were many people that have already given me permission, and their pictures are going to be on our website. And I would say on the checking out, I'd go, do you know that this class saved your life? You taking this class saved your life. I said that to, 2 classes ago, I said that to 3 people. And I mean, and it's easy. It's easy stuff. So we're going to learn the difference between problems and the symptoms. We're going to look for the mechanism of disease. We're going to look for the mechanism of what is causing that disease. I'm going to teach you how to support the immune system in what it's doing. If you get sick during your healing, I'm going to tell you to do multiple things, but one thing is going to be double your greens. I'm going to say double your greens, and I'll let you in on that joke, okay, but it's real. we're going to be looking at what your symptoms are telling us, because it's a good sign when your body is speaking to us. It is not a good sign when the body has not spoken to us in 10 years. I will have people come to the clinic and they'll say, I just got diagnosed with cancer. I've got ovarian cancer. And, but it's the weirdest thing. I have been healthy. I am so healthy. I never get sick. And I'm like, So their immune system has not been working for 10 years. Okay, symptoms are a sign that the immune system is actually trying to rectify something. It's trying to compensate. It's trying to rectify something. If it's a disease process that is progressing south really quickly, okay, then that's too much of talking, but that's the body is not able to compensate anymore. I had a lady who had leukemia. She actually had breast cancer, had full mastectomy, her testimony's on the board, and read the testimony because I might be remembering it a little off, okay? But she had a fever for 3 years. And it was a miserable fever where she could not get out of bed. She was non-functioning, and her dad was a doctor. They were all doctors, and so it was like a fluke that she even called me. And I said, "So why are you calling me?" And she said, "Well, I heard from so and so and so and so that you actually can help this." And I said, "Well," and then I took 3 hours to teach her pretty much what I'm teaching you. Your fever is actually your immune system. It's a mechanism that is working. So you know what we need to do? We actually need to, and it's weak, it's compensating, but it has been beat up. She was tortured. She had, her back skin was engrafted on her breast to just close in the holes from radiation. And she was a mess, but her immune system, it had life. It had life. It had a flicker in it. And so I just said, you know what we need to do? Your immune system is talking. It's tired though. So we actually need to very gently start building up this fever where it's a low grade. We need to start moving it up as long as her immune system was strengthening in the meanwhile. And she is fully functioning, out of pain. That was probably 6 years ago, and she's all over the world. I actually hear about her in different avenues, and I'm like, oh my goodness, and she's fully healed. And she was bedridden for 3 years because the breast cancer, actually, after all of the treatment, ended up becoming leukemia, and that was all reversed. Yeah, pretty amazing, huh? So when I tell you that story, you know, oh my goodness, if that can come out and you remove the obstacles to cure and that person gets well, then I'm not nearly in that place. Then it's going to be pretty easy for us to welcome, guys. So I wanted to actually, it's a little tangent, but what it's going to do is it's going to teach you the what I'm going to teach here. It's going to teach you the mechanism. So serotonin is actually a neurotransmitter, right? That many Americans are sleepless. They have insomnia. Many. I want to say 80% of the people I see are insomniacs. So they are candidates for serotonin starvation. The symptoms are that they're pessimistic. They're a little bit gloomy, they're pessimistic. Life can be going lovely, but they see the glass half full. Half empty. See, I'm a total optimism. I've got plenty of serotonin. Okay, but they also are people that have a tendency towards just anxiousness. They're perfectionists, okay, because things need to be done well, but they find themselves that their well is not good enough. So they become anxious and they become depressed. Then, of course, they become insomniacs. then oftentimes because they have serotonin depletion, they get angry fast anger because of that negativity. These women actually have, statistically, they are more likely to be serotonin deficient. So they actually have PMS. I actually had one of my patients that said, I am raging before my menses. And I'm like, we need to deal with the neurotransmitters here. So serotonin inhibitors, so someone that say already has this tendency, then they need caffeine to jack themselves up and to get just like a little bit of optimism flowing. So they are the ones that are likely to just go and get a 14-ouncer of Coke or coffee and get that just things moving and awakened. They're the ones that are gonna crave alcohol. They're gonna crave stimulants. They're gonna crave sweets. They're gonna crave sweets, but then they're gonna say, I know that sweets themselves are bad for me, so I'm gonna eat sugarless. And then now they're gonna have aspartame, and they are so stressed out because they are very gifted and perfectionistic. So these same people, and I'm using this as an example, every single thing that we talk about, I can draw a physiological pattern, and this is why we're looking at mechanism. So what contributes to serotonin deficiencies? These people skip meals. They have a low-fat, low-protein diet. They're deficient in their diets. It's a lot of fake foods. They have low stomach acid, low bile production, high grain diets, if they even get something that's that alive. So I'm gonna show you this, and this is an example of what I'm going to be showing you with your blood tests, because this is basically showing you the mechanism. Remember, I told you natural medicine, people will say, well, out of Better Homes and Garden, oh, I read that chlorella is really good for me, or I read that maca is really good for me. Well, let's look at the constituents and see what is in it and see if it really is good for you, or will it drive some other mechanism where it'll be a bad thing for you. So we're using serotonin. I could have chosen tons of things, and in autoimmunity I'm going to show you this as well. So where I need to, I'll draw it. This is an example. Okay, hold on here. Okay, so quickly, this is the blood-brain barrier. Okay, down here, so you know what this is, a serotonin, let's just say cycle, physiological cycle, okay? So first off, and I will move so you guys can see this, okay? First off, we need protein. How do we manufacture serotonin? How do we get the happy neurotransmitter? We have to have protein. We have to have that protein change into the branched chain amino acids. We have to have perfect glucose control. We have to have perfect glucose. So that means we can't be spiking, being hyper or hypo reactive. Then after this, then it changes into smaller branched chain amino acids. Okay. Then we actually have enzymes here. So this is something that has to be present in the body. We have to have actually transport proteins. Okay. Then we can. Tryptophan is a precursor to serotonin. Then we can have this tryptophan, but this tryptophan down in the body can do nothing for us until it comes up into the brain. We have to have waiting for us in the brain we have to, number one, get that tryptophan up there. So this means we can't have the stealers of the tryptophan. We can't have the caffeine, the alcohol, birth control pills. We can't have, there's a bunch of them, okay? We can't have them stealing it down here in the body. We can't have an overabundance of other neurotransmitters up already in our blood-brain barrier that displaces this tryptophan, okay? Tryptophan, if we get it up here, when we get it up here, we have to have iron already waiting for us, okay, in order to hook together to, now, we're going to have 5-HTP, 5-HTP, okay? So tryptophan now is going to combine with iron, then it's going to actually transform into a 5-HTP, but it's not going to transform into this unless we have B3, B6, B9, B12, calcium, and magnesium. Okay, we will not be able to convert this and hook it together and get the serotonin unless we have all of these present. So here we are, we've got the stealers of serotonin. It's like a Russian roulette, right? Are we going to be sad, anxious people? You know, we can be, and it can be all physiological. It's all chemicals in our body. So, say we actually have iron, 5-HTP. It now transforms into serotonin. Serotonin comes down here, and now we have melatonin, and now we get to sleep. Okay, so many people, when they're deficient in one neurotransmitter, they're deficient in many neurotransmitters. And the idea, and this is what I want to teach you in this 6-week class, the idea is we're going to look at the mechanism. Okay, what is the mechanism here? This person has a history of sadness, gloomy. They just can't, for the life of them, have some optimism over life, and they're anxious, and they're jacking themselves up with counterfeits, right? With counterfeits. So where is this mechanism? Why is this person having this? Well, we look here and we say, protein. Are you a vegetarian? Do you know how many vegetarians I see that don't eat any vegetables? I'm like, you're a vegetarian. Okay? So they don't have protein. They are not eating protein. Okay? They have low stomach acid. You can never trust me when I'm quoting percentages and numbers, but I want to say 70% of the people I see have compromised gut. They have low stomach acid, so they cannot digest the protein. If they're eating protein, they're not utilizing it. Okay, that's a problem. So now, where is our other problem? There could be a problem here, but it's even clearer here because this is what's I'm addressing it for you guys. Insulin. You're insulin resistant. You have symptoms of you eat and then you want to fall asleep. Or you're hypoglycemic and you're crazy before you eat. Like, I haven't eaten in 2 hours. I'm crazy now. That's hypoglycemic, okay? You've got glucose issues. So if your insulin receptors on your cells are not opening up and your insulin is actually going to fat and you've got a inner tube around your abdomen, then you're quite possibly insulin resistant. That insulin is being stored instead of the cells allowing for the open doors to come on in and pick up the glucose. And we're going to be talking about that probably week 3 or 4. But if there is a problem and you have any problem with glucose, you are a candidate for sleeplessness. You are a candidate for insomnia, okay? Because you're not being able to manufacture all of this mechanism to actually have your happy pill and be able to sleep. So can you see where this class is? It's a little bit deeper than we think, okay? We're going to be talking about priorities, because if we have issues in our life, oftentimes it's a chemical issue. Every single thing goes back to your nutrition. If you do everything that I ask you to do, and you, it's like a miracle happiness of you lose 30 pounds, you're vital, you're strong, all of these things, and you improve, but you go back to a poor diet, you will lose your healing, because the diet, the nutrition that I'm going to be teaching you is absolutely fundamental. And during this class, I'm also going to talk about, there are a lot of diets out in the world, and even I go, wow, that person lost 30 pounds. That would be awesome. But then I look at their blood and I go, we got to do something here. Okay. So I'm going to teach you what I see in clinics, in clinical, and I'm going to give you the reason why I will debunk a popular diet or a popular something that's mainstream right now. I do have my opinions.
Really?
Nah. Crazy, right? So in this class, I'd like to teach you to take charge of your own health. I would like to equip you that you know the basics of what could quite possibly be obstacles to cure, and you'll also know how to go back to the basics. Say that after you go through this and you're really feeling strong and you start slipping, like all of us do because we're human, and then when you have symptoms coming back, you will be fully empowered to know exactly what you need to do to jump right back on and get well. And that's my goal. My goal is always to equip you. I will tell people, I don't want lifetime patients. I don't want them. Contrary, but I don't want them. Knowing is not enough. It's we have to apply. In this class, I'm asking you to do homework every week, because frankly, if you're not ready to get well, you're not going to look good in my book. Okay? Okay? So I need you to also get the revelation and start believing, and that's the reason why I'm trying to really, I'll ingrain into you the principles of cure. We're going to talk about removing triggers of disease, talk about chemical toxicities, foods to avoid, and why. I think that's one of the greatest things that people will say is, I always knew that I needed to avoid this. I always knew I needed to avoid this. But that knowledge was never transformational because they didn't have the punch of the why. So when I tell you, when you eat gluten and the gluten that you're eating, the gliadin, the protein, you eat that and your body has developed antigens against it and it starts attacking your cerebellum in your brain. And I'll say, so by any chance do you have dizziness? By any chance do you get car sickness? By any chance do you get sick on a boat? I'm like, well, that gluten you're eating is attacking your cerebellum. It's just, again, it's the hyperbole. I try to make things very big so that you will actually have it go into you and say, oh my goodness, maybe I don't want to have this piece of toast. I will talk about cross-reactive foods, excitotoxins, molecular mimicry. These are big fancy things, but we boil them down to very simple. And we're going to learn practical self-tests about how to evaluate if your body is reacting to a substance that might be really good, like chard, like carrots, like spinach, and your body is reacting to it. I'm going to give you little tips on how to see that. We're going to start a gentle juice detox. This is a juice detox class because they call me the green juice woman. Out in public, I'll hear, "Oh, you're the green juice doctor." Yeah, but remember I told you I was sick and I was tortured. Okay, when I was reversing out of my sickness, I would be bedridden for a week. If someone drank green juice and pushed it through, strengthened the immune system, filled up the mineral reserves, and detoxified at the same time, and I could make your healing so much more gentle, this is why I am the green juice woman. And so I'm okay with it because I'm a kind doctor. We will address negative patterns of dysfunction. So after we discern what they are in you, we will be addressing them specifically. We're going to learn the first steps of detoxification. Juicing, herbs, nutraceuticals. I will teach you how to break up pathogens. That means if you have a tendency of being acutely sick, or your kids, I will give you keys of how to address that so that you don't have to go and do drugs. And then in our chemical toxicity class, I will be talking about specific softwares that you can scan with your phone and see if something is toxic to you, whether it's poison. We're going to discuss rebuilding the gastrointestinal mucosa or healing leaky gut. I will address, I think I've been seeing quite a few people that have electrolyte imbalance as first-line therapy, so we will be addressing that. Some people that have electrolyte imbalances, it looks a lot like a glucose, like a hypoglycemia, and sometimes it's really an electrolyte issue. So we will be addressing that. We're going to start basic neurological testing every week. We're going to do a little exercise, and you're going to surprise yourself. And if you fail, you're going to have to do more reps than the rest of us. We're going to learn steps to rebuild and detoxify the system. This is not a detoxifying class, but we will be adding that because that's a 6-week class and it's unto itself. But this will definitely get you started. In natural medicine, there's a saying that it's either sickness, and this is boiled down. Sickness is either a deficiency disease, an organ system that's deficient, or it's a toxicity issue where toxins have lodged in organ systems and have caused them to malfunction, get stuck. They can't do what they're called to do. So in natural medicine, detoxification is a huge thing for us, and there is a hierarchy to it. You will learn step 1 and step 2, and when you're off on your own, you will be doing that because we're going to have both of them paralleling, where your deficiencies are going to be getting fed, your immune system gets fed, and then you're also cleaning at the same time, and it's easier that way, easier on you. We're going to have pre-assessment tests. Then you're going to have blood tests that will show us your life. We also say that life is in the blood. You live and die at the cellular level. So if your cells are gasping for air, then you're actually dying. You're going towards disease. So that is the reason for first-line therapy. That's why we're going to address that. We will be taking the bioimpedance analysis for anyone that wants to. It's just a machine that you get hooked up. Within 30 seconds, we have 17 markers that are telling us about your body. Glucose test is optional, pulse, oxygen, and blood pressure. Then we're going to start talking about what you're going to do for your first-line therapy. Your issues are going to be written to me on assessment forms. You're going to give me your 5 top issues that you know you have, what symptoms you have, and then basically every week I tailor the class to address your issues so that you can start strengthening. And I just give it straight out of this is why it's happening, and this is what you're going to do to start strengthening that. You're going to understand the priority order. There's a hierarchy to everything we do. We're not going to, if someone's presenting with thyroid disorder, we're not going to go to the thyroid, because I can guarantee you have at least 3 other markers that are out of whack. And so we're going to address the priority of the hierarchy, and then the things down below will heal themselves, hopefully. I will be teaching on the BIA, your 4 markers, the ones that are important to us to measure your health in a snapshot. And that's toxicity, it's body mass index. So if you have a lot of fat, then your body is holding a lot of poison. Poison is stored in the adipose tissue. And when you lose weight, and you will lose weight, then the toxins are released. People that, if they are so toxic, then the body will tell us if it's not ready to release that. And then we just start building the immune system. And when the body feels strong enough, that's when it will start releasing adipose tissue. It's so amazing, you guys, because it's in order. Everything is very orderly, very orderly. And your body will tell us what's up. We will be talking about negative biofilms, why antibiotics are creating superbugs. We're going to talk about herbs and nutraceuticals, ways of, if someone has a chronic candida infection, systemic candida, they've had it the last 10 years. Candida lives off of virus. Virus is like the strong man of a body. Bacterias share, actually, let me say it this way, viruses share DNA with the bacteria to make them stronger. When we kill bacteria with our antibiotics, which save lives, okay, when we do that, these bacteria mutate, become stronger, become of a different sort, where that anti-life is not allowed, it doesn't touch them anymore, and it doesn't touch them because actually the body builds its own ecosystem in the body. And that's what can cause, over time, can cause the cancerous issues, because this biofilm has taken over. So what we do is we change, it's basically terrain sculpting. We're going to totally change the biofilm on the inside of you so that cancer has no food to it, has no way of growing or anything else. I use cancer because it's the big one, right? But anything else too, candida, constant viral infections, constant bronchitis, constant knee pain. Do you know strep lives in the knees? People are always looking at, ACL. Well, let me just check it for strep. Let's just clear it of strep. Oh, wow, I can go run again. So I'm going to teach you how to think about things just a little bit differently. We're going to understand blood pressure and perfusion. Many people, especially if they have blood sugar issues, their peripheral circulation moves inward. So they're numb and they're cold. They're cold on their fingers. They're cold on their feet. They have to wear socks at bedtime. I just had a 78-year-old man. He's my poster. I call him my poster man. I just saw him today, and he had horrible blood glucose issues. Just so you know, when I share testimonies, I already have their permission. I'm in good standing. But his feet ached. They ached so bad. He had very severe blood sugar issues, diabetes, and his feet were like cramping in and cold. He had to wear socks at night, and his hands were actually starting to be just like his feet. And he was nervous. He was scared. His whole system was slowing down. He wasn't pooping regularly. I know it's gross stuff, but it's what I do. He had actually brainstem issues, and his vagus nerve was not innervating properly to his system, so he was slowing down. You know, we did pretty much what I'm teaching you in class, And he even today said, like, I don't even know why they come visit me now. They come down from Denver, and I'm like, you really don't need to come anymore. It's like, we get so excited, you know? But he said, every single issue, I gave him brain exercises for his vagus nerve. He started having multiple stools a day. And I dealt with him with first-line therapy, exactly what I'm teaching you guys. And I would say literally within a month, he was fine. He was fine. He would choke on his food because his vagus nerve was soft. It wasn't working. And he is a new man. He runs the incline. He comes down to Colorado Springs to run the incline with his grandson. So I'm just,
78?
He's 78 years old. And he said, this was his words, because he said, and you can put that on my testimony. He said, what did he say? It was just sweet. He just said, you know, if I didn't find out about you, and you know, and I'm nothing special, right? I just do what I learn. And he said, if I didn't find out about you, he said, I was wishing for death. He said, I was living such a miserable life, constipated all the time. He said, it was like constant food stuck in his throat. And I'm telling you, every single thing that I did for him, I'm giving to you guys. So it's across the board. What I'm teaching you works. It works. We will be covering dysglycemia, diabetes. This is all about glucose. We're going to be covering the mainstream fads, about the ketogenic diets that everyone's losing so much weight on. I'm finally, you know, it's kind of the talk of the town when doctors get together. We're like, what do you think about the keto diet? What do you think? Well, what do you think about the good keto diet? You know, not all loading up on 3 pounds of bacon and a bunch of cream. You know, what about loading up on, and you know, I just really, because I wasn't seeing blood tests that showed me this, I would just listen. And many of the doctors would say, we need to see more evidence. It needs to be popular a little bit longer. And I am now seeing the results in the clinic. And I am telling you, don't do the keto diet, okay? For liver, for kidneys, for your lipids, for heart disease, for the #1 killer of cardiovascular disease. And
What is it?
the keto diet is just lots and lots of fat. Just eat mounds of fat. So we'll be talking about that. But I will just give you I'll give you my 2 cents worth. You can take it or leave it. We will be talking about, there's people that are called pathological detoxifiers because their organ systems, their liver is fatty. Do you know, and I'll teach all of this very, very deep, but back in the 1940s, alcoholism would cause fatty livers. Now, it's our food. It's our mainstream food that gives us cirrhosis, that gives us fatty livers. It's huge. I have seen 10-year-old little boy. I've seen lots of little kids, lots actually, that already have fatty acids, fatty livers. That is horrendous. That's meaning a short lifespan. Because in pathology, and I'll just use cancer as an example, it's not cancer that we're worried about. Cancer does not kill us, even though it is gross and oozing and horrible. It's the liver cannot keep up with the massive amount of waste from the cancer cells. So it's always about the liver. Okay, I was sent home to die. I do a liver cleanse probably 4 times a year, unless I feel like I'm slugging, you know, I'm just getting sluggish. Then I do it again. So I am always coming back to the liver, because it's the liver shutting down that kills us. And again, I'm going to be deep in the classes. This is just an overview. In every class, we will have homework. You will apply it during the week. I will ask you, how well did you do on your homework? And it's all right if you go, I don't have a juicer, so I'm 3 weeks in. That's all right. You're taking a step forward. So don't let that you'll be 3 weeks behind. A lot of we had eight, I'm like a 6-year-old. I had eight people that took the class remotely via the camera. And so they were behind, and all we do is we just move them a month out. So it's okay if you're not being able to keep in step with what we're doing in class. There is an amazing synergy with the people that are in the class. And when you go, by the 3rd, 4th week, people will be actually bringing their own Kleenex and blowing their nose and having a detoxification cold. It is, revelation comes when you see the people that are doing it and they're working through their symptoms. And when we talk about it, you're like, oh my goodness sakes, this is for real. And so when you see it after 3 to 4 weeks and people say, oh my goodness sakes, I got a cold of the century, I'm like, yay, okay, the immune system is working, we're doing really well. Oh my goodness sakes, I had diarrhea for a day, yay, okay, it's good. Okay, so there is a synergy in all of us doing this together. We will be doing brain exercises in class, and it's fun. Okay, it's fun. There's no one has pointed out and saying you're not doing well. Okay, we will also review what we learned and what we applied the last week, and we're improving on this. And like I said, it will be tailored to you. When I look at your assessment forms, I rewrite this. It's fundamental because natural medicine is fundamental. The diet is not going to change. Your diet might change, okay? Because someone say that you have gallbladder issues, then your diet will change. And I will scribble on your paper and I will say, no fats for you until you do this repair and replace diet, and I'll give you all the tools. And it's basically just kind of like homework, and I just scribble on it and you take it and run. We will be talking about food triggers: gluten, dairy, sugar, soy, pork. Sometimes charred spinach and carrots are no-nos. We're going to be talking about chemical triggers, all the chemicals that we are exposed to day in, day out that are poisoning our liver. Okay, they're poisoning our blood, our circulatory system, because they're not actually going through and getting filtered by our liver, but ultimately they're lodging in our liver. We're going to be talking about every decision that you make about food. This is huge about nutrition. We'll be talking about what you're putting on in your mouth, on your skin, on your hair, exercise. We're even going to be talking very quickly about your emotions, emotional health. And I just want you to know that baby steps, it's a motto I have. It's everything in baby steps. Baby steps actually avails much. You don't have to do the ginormous things. You're going, I have to work. Well, okay, then you do baby steps. If a pathology is advanced, then you don't get to do baby steps. You're going to get some giant Mother May I steps, and you're going to go forward with bigger steps. But you'll have an understanding, and it will give you the ability. Understanding is everything. You know, I'll tell people to do things in the clinic, and they'll be like, no, I won't do that. And I'll say, well, then you can't come here. because these are my tools, and this is life. This is lifestyle. I actually had a lady that she just said, I can't do green juice. And I said, well, if you don't do green juice, I'll be torturing you, and I will not torture you. And I said, well, what about water? How much water do you drink a day? And she was like, well, I don't do water. And I'm like, well, I can't treat you unless unless you have ears to hear what I'm trying to teach you, then I'm not the one for you. You go take drugs, because they're going to help you. So I would like everyone to write down their health goals. The more that you know your objectives, you'll know your objectives when you work out the assessment forms. You'll have objectives on the form. It will say, these are my top complaints. I think that's the way it's written. These are my top complaints. But I would like you to take it to the next step, because something I teach in the clinic often, especially with the bedridden people, that they think this is their portion. They're like, I might as well die. I don't even know why I'm here, because I think God put this sickness on me, and I think that, and do you know that I have to spend at least 2 hours telling them how this is contrary to how the human body was manufactured, that this is not your portion. You do not have to be bedridden. You don't have to have a drip of antibiotics for Lyme disease. That is a bacteria. That in its co-infections, we can scramble and start strengthening your immune system so you don't have to deal with that. You don't have to have them eat away your hip joints. So it's basic knowledge that I want to just spill over to you. If I could just put my hands on your head and say, that's what I would love. Okay, I would love it to be easy, but I promise you that I will make it as easy as possible for you if you choose to take the giant step and take your giant step towards this class. And if you do, I won't see your goals, but this is what I was going to say. You have to see yourself well. There's many people that they see themselves sick because they've been sick a really long time. And so in your journal, I'd like to, maybe this category, maybe you guys, it doesn't fit, but if your symptoms have limited you in living in any way, I want you to write that down, and I want you to start seeing yourself without those symptoms. The power of the mind. I have seen radical sicknesses that just by going through these kind of exercises with the mind and the emotions, I have seen people accelerate their healing by, no exaggeration, 50%. Just real quick. I'd like you to start thinking like a healthy person. And again, I might not be talking. These are really the chronically ill people. And you guys are here for prevention and to actually interrupt the disease process that may be brewing. And ultimately, I just want you to know that you're responsible for your health. And if I can serve you in equipping you and giving you the knowledge to reverse, and that we can look at the mechanism of the why are we craving stimulants? Why? Okay, if we can boil it down and say, okay, this is quite possibly the number one priority. If that's not it, let's look at the second and the third priority. And that's how we'll start taking care of the disease process. Okay, let's see here. I don't think I want to. Okay, so the tests that we recommend are the hemoglobin A1C, because that's for diabetes. It's a 3-month picture. I like vitamin D. It's actually a 25 hydroxy, and a complete CBC and metabolic panel with an iron panel. You see here, if you know what? I didn't even really expound on this. But if someone is anemic, or someone has issues with their red blood cells, right here, they will not be able to manufacture serotonin. I see a huge amount of the people that come and see me, they are iron deficient. They do not have iron to bring oxygen to their cells or nutrients to their cells. So this is the first thing that we address. If we can address that and get that aligned, you'll be sleeping. Just give it a couple months, okay? But we'll look at all the mechanisms. We will be measuring body composition, cellular health. It's a phase angle, which it actually can tell me how strong the immune system is so that we know how fast you can go on the program. And it also measures hydration, but it also measures toxicity because it measures hydration. And again, fat mass versus lean body mass, because muscle, the greater our muscle mass, the stronger our immune system is. And again, all of this will go into deeper in the class. This is just a key, but you don't need to. I'll be looking at it and scribbling on your test and letting you know what your prime issues are, or wow, you're amazing. Keep up the good work. We're going to be talking about foods to eat, foods to moderate. Foods to eat right now for this, 85% plant-based, okay? 85% plant-based, but you have to have protein. And you guys, not a vegetarian, you have to eat animal protein. Animal protein's getting the job done for us in the blood. We're going to, these are all the proteins that would be lovely to eat, and you will have this in a homework file, so you'll be able to come back to it. But remember, every week I will be teaching in depth on why we are not eating the things that were on the foods to avoid list, or which is coming up right here, foods to avoid list. So you can get started on that right away. All of these have a reason why you're not eating them.